Environment. Dedication of an environment in which one works, as in the instance of a tekia where dervishes meet, carries its special rules and requirements. The bootmaker will arrange his atmosphere and surroundings in such a way as to enable him to benefit most and to benefit his work. The man of this world will arrange his house so as to gain and give pleasure, and the people of religion make their buildings such as to stir them inwardly. The people of the path, however, will employ such interior arenas as will correspond with who is to be practicing there, and what the intention of the operation may be. It is the height of folly to imagine that because one likes a certain room, it will contain the necessary atmosphere. It shows the division between the people of rule and the people of the path and of truth, when the former like a place, and the latter know what it is like, and when the former decorate a place, and the latter avoid such things. Only the real perceiver can judge whether the hearth has more barakah than the palace, and which of the dervishes shall exercise in it. To infringe this condition of operation is worse than putting a donkey in rosewater, for it causes the movement of the law of reverse effect, when people who tamper with the celestial lose much more than they gain. This is the statement of the Sheikh Abdallah el-Nuri of Khorasan. Andaki. Andaki was asked, "Understanding and kindness are a part of the Sufi way. Why should there be anything other than love and beauty? Why should there be knowledge, for instance, and the passage of time, and such things as hesitation or reprimand?" He said, "A ripening peach needs sun and water. Have you not seen what happens when the beneficent sun shines too long or too strongly? It becomes a destructive curse. Water a plant correctly, and the water will be a true blessing for it. Water it too much, and the plant will surely rot and will suffer the pangs which will make it regard the water not as a blessing, but as the instrument of its destruction. Give a man what he calls kindness continually, and you will sap him so that he becomes unhappy. Fail to reprimand when such a criticism can have an adequate effect for him, and you have erred. Refuse to countenance these things as possible, and you are not really asking the questions which you believed you posed." Buyer and seller. It is related by the dervish Salah Yunus that he was present when an argumentative would-be scholar was allowed to say the most crude and insensitive things to his teacher, Burhanuddin. Burhanuddin said nothing, and when the man had left the lecture hall, Yunus said to him, "Will you not perhaps chastise that man, so that he may be able to see the desperate situation that he is in?" Burhanuddin said, "We shall not see him again, for he had concluded that I am unable to answer his challenges, and he will therefore go elsewhere." "Is this," asked Yunus, "the means which you employ to rid yourself of annoying people?" "This is not the means," said Burhanuddin. "This is the way in which I give the man what he wants. He wants someone with whom to differ and argue. I refuse to be that man, and this makes him seek another, even more anxiously. So he will go and find someone who relishes debate. In this way, as it were, we will have helped to bring the buyer and the seller together. If I cannot help this man to find what I have to give, I can at least help him to find what he really desires." Learning by signs. Al-Hashma had the reputation of teaching by signs. A man who was greatly attracted by this idea travelled for years until he arrived at the sage's school. As soon as he saw him, Hashma said, "You must be prepared to learn at least the first steps to wisdom by words alone." The man protested, "I can get words anywhere. I came to learn by signs." Hashma said, Everyone wants to learn by signs, gestures, and exercises, since they have heard that it is possible. The result has been that they are too excited by the prospect to be able to do so. Such is their excitement that they cannot perceive it, and shout, "We are not excited." Therefore we must resort to an alternative until they are ready: words and readings. The Pardoned Murderer. Janfishan Khan was asked about circumventing the opposition towards the Sufis, manifested without reason by so many people. He said, "There was once a king who caught a man attempting to kill him. Since that king had taken an oath never to give orders for blood to be shed, he did not kill his attacker. Instead, he devised a plan. He sent the man back to his own sovereign, with the message, 'We have captured this man in the act of trying to take the life of the king. Having forgiven him, we send him back to you, complimenting you upon having at your disposal such a loyal servant.' When this man arrived back at the court of his own monarch, he was instantly killed. He was not executed for failing in his mission, but because his master could not credit that anyone who had attempted murder could have been forgiven and released unharmed. It was therefore concluded that he had bought his freedom by promising something, perhaps even to destroy his own king." Janfishan continued, "When we are trying to teach man how to be balanced, we cannot accuse him of being unbalanced. His behavior emphasizes the need for our work. If he were otherwise, we would have no function. Therefore, human cruelty and destruction of what is vital to him is his everyday activity. He will be more likely than not to see the Sufis as bad, since he almost always acts against his own true interests. Has it not been said by the ancients that when man starts to understand the Sufi, there will be no more Sufis and other men?" Halabi. Suleiman Halabi always had a huge book lying on the floor, doing service as a doorstop. An austere and opinionated visitor, unaware of Suleiman's habits, bent as he entered to pick up the book. "Let it lie there," said Halabi. "Such disrespect towards any book is unworthy in the ranks of the wise," said the visitor. "Even more unworthy," said Suleiman, "is to imagine that a book which is useful for some people should be applied upon others, whether it suits them or not. It is worse than unworthy if one does not know that there are means of communicating knowledge which communicate knowledge, regardless of what they look like." The Abode of Truth. There were once two sages. One was deluded, and many people believed that he was a great man. The second sage was a true possessor of a higher knowledge. Many people again believed in him. A natural catastrophe occurred, and both sages, together with their followers, found themselves ranged before the inquiring angels who determine the future destination of human souls. The angels interrogated everyone. Then they announced that the followers of the first sage should go with him to hell, and the community of the second sage were to accompany him to paradise. The two sages and the entire assembly of souls, however, were perplexed. They asked the angels, "On what basis is this decision made?" The angels said, "Both sages and their people are believers, but the first sage, while imagining that he believed in something higher, in reality believed only in himself. His followers would not have been disciples of his had they not inwardly desired to worship him. The second sage believed only in truth. His followers had been attached to him, and remained attached to him, only because inwardly they really sought not him, but truth. The afterlife is the abode of truth. If it were ruled by men, the story would be otherwise. but it is a reality, not a theory, so our decision is inevitable. Rights and duties. A certain fakir saw a saddened dervish slowly walking away from the tekia of the great teacher Arif Hakimi of Paghman. He asked the keeper of the gate what might be the reason for this man's crestfallen look. The gateman replied, according to Idries Shah, he demanded the right to attend the meetings of the people of truth, but the people cast him out, for those who have the right cannot demand it, and those who demand it cannot have it. As Abu Yusuf himself was heard to remark, the disciple does not need to speak a word before the guide knows, through his demeanour and posture, whether he has come to learn or come to trade. Alisher Nawai. They asked Alisher Nawai why he did not write analyses of his poetry, so that people would know what to think of it and how to study it. He said, "The miner brings the gem from the mine, and the engraver engraves it. The jeweller may sell it. If I were to do everything with these jewels, there would be no room for anyone else to profit." They asked him, "So there should always be scholars to interpret, but that causes dissension because scholars differ." He answered, "There will always be goldsmiths, and they compete, vying with one another for fame and to sell their goods. Many fools will buy from fashionable goldsmiths, but there will always be real buyers who can tell the good engraving. And they will have the money, never fear."